live from New York. It's the show that was not invited to Tight End University.
You guys weren't?
Were you invited to Tight End University?
Yeah, I couldn't. Listen, I can miss a show to play cards. I can't go down to Nashville.
There was a surprise concert at Tight End University.
Well, that, I don't know if I would have been invited to that. But yeah, invited to, be a media.
If Taylor didn't play, if I go to a concert at Tight End University and Taylor's not there in Nashville, I'm like, what am I doing? We're starting with the NBA draft. Cooper Flagg expected to go to Dallas, and the people around him expect his impact to be immediate. Article in The Athletic headline: Why Cooper Flagg should be a rare impact player the first day he steps into the NBA. Here's a quote from a trainer. Full package. Offensive skills, defensive skills, basketball IQ. When you have all of that, you're kind of unstoppable. He did it at the high school level. He did it at the college level. And I know for a fact he's going to do it at the NBA level on the first day he steps onto that court. Brew, how good will Cooper Flagg be right away?
Well, that's some high praise. First of all,
it is his trainer, so I don't know.
This is going to likely, or could, I should say, save Nico Harrison's legacy.
Oh.
And I get it.
His
it's
legacy?
Yes, because here's why. We all know they would not have been in position to get the number one pick in the draft had they not made the trade, right? So if he, and I'm saying could, if he becomes a legit superstar, then then that's going to make up for losing Luka Doncic, especially if Luka never wins in LA.
Yeah.
But even if he does win, if Cooper Flagg is a legitimate superstar, then this is going to save Nico Harrison. And I get it. It's not like he planned it this way, but it will, in a mad scientist kind of way, even though it was a mistake, it will have turned out to be a move that they're still a very, very good franchise in a very good position. So that's number one. As far as Cooper Flagg, I actually do think he's going to be good right away. Like, I think he's going to have a very good rookie season. I'm thinking 18 points, 4 or 5 assists, 6-ish rebounds,
We're
something
so
like
funny,
that.
bro.
That's what you got?
I wrote down 18.6 rebounds, 5 assists, which is exactly what you just said.
I mean, because the trainer's right, he can do it all.
Yeah.
Like, he can shoot the three, he can shoot the mid-range, he can take it off the dribble, finish at the rim. He's athletic. He does defend, which is unique for a guy coming out of college to right away be able to be a good defender. And he's already going to be ahead of a lot of the NBA players because of his basketball IQ. A lot of guys don't have a high basketball IQ, I think, in today's game because the way it's played in a one-man, two-man basketball type of game when they grow up. He can play with the ball in his hands, and he can play without the ball. He's a smart player. And I think, Nick, I know we'll get into this in a few moments, with Kyrie being out at least until January, the ball's going to be in his hands.
He's going to have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and he's got enough offensive players, obviously AD, Klay Thompson can still shoot it, that the defense won't be able to just focus on him. So I think that'll give him time before Kyrie gets back to really get comfortable in the offense. So I'm expecting a good rookie year.
All right, let me just quickly address the Nico stuff because I totally disagree. Because I don't think people look at them getting Cooper Flagg as part of Nico's plan.
Right. I'm not saying
and
it was a plan.
I know you're not saying
I'm just saying it will have worked out that way.
Yes, but that assumes that Nico will still be running the team when they start winning, and I don't know that that'll be the case. And I think that, to me, this was a gift from the basketball gods to the fans of Dallas that didn't deserve to have their hearts ripped out by their team trading away a generational, once-in-a-lifetime player. As far as what we landed on similar numbers, and I had Josh put together the last 7 rookies of the year. So Luka to Castle and what they did, because we all agree, right? He's supposed to win Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so the high end of those numbers are Luka and Wemby. The low end of those numbers are Castle and LaMelo. And, the median is basically John Paolo, right? Like, that's and what you see is all those guys fill up the box score typically because, as Brew was saying, they're usually on really, really bad teams that don't have established. They're not always teams that jumped way up in the lottery to get them. But I think for Flagg, I know we're talking about right away, and I think right away he'll be good. I think that guys who are future stars, usually, not always, but particularly American players who are future stars, are usually pretty damn good immediately. The best rookies of the year, like as far as what their careers were, since from LeBron to now, there's LeBron, Chris Paul, Durant, Luka, and I'll put Wemby in there as far as like who they're going to be. And then there is the next group of guys, Dame, Kyrie, Towns, Ja, and I put Paolo in there because I think he's going to be quite good. For Flagg, like, where are we expecting him to land as far as the type of player he is long term? Because I feel like your guy, I don't know if it was your guy, Celtics guy, Brian Scalabrine, is comparing him favorably to LeBron. That seems too strong.
Wait.
I'm just telling you, he loves him. Scalabrine
You gotta
loves him.
just stop there for a minute. Explain that to me.
Scal loves
I like
him.
Scal too. Favorably to LeBron, meaning
no, like that, or I guess equivalent to, as far as the type of that.
It might be a lot.
It'd be great if he was as good as LeBron. Like, my goodness.
But I guess like this is I guess a cousin of the Wemby conversation in that what are people actually expecting him to be? Like, I feel like he is expected to be, sorry to be, I guess, a little crass with it, certainly the best white American player since Bird. Like, that's a must. And I think that they are expecting him to be a guy who is, during his prime, a perennial MVP candidate. Like, that's the expectation for this player. And I don't know if you guys think that's too much or not enough or unfair, but it does seem like when, like, the number one picks, to me, he is in line of what I see as Paolo and Cade. Like, yeah.
He's got to be better than
well,
those
that's
guys.
supposed to be the floor.
He has to be better than those
So
guys.
here's what I had Josh pull. Freshman to win player of the year. And it'll be mentioned in the broadcast. He's actually, by the calendar,
he's a senior in high school.
A senior in high school. So he reclassed up. A lot of people in youth sports now are reclassing down.
Yes.
Right.
So you get a physical advantage. He reclassed up. So freshman to win player of the year is Cooper Flagg, Zion, AD, KD. So then I took their first years because they all win rookie of the year. Zion went 22-6-2, but he only played 24 games.
Yeah.
So he didn't get it. But he came out strong. Yeah. AD was only 13-8-2 blocks. He lost Rookie of the Year to Dame. KD was 24-2. He played 82 games. They only won 19 for Seattle. I think he has to have an immediate, this guy can be all-NBA within the first 4 years.
Well, within the first
like a
4 years.
Wemby-esque.
Yeah,
I put him and Wemby on the same tier.
See, I think that's too hard. Too high. Like I heard somebody say he's the best prospect in years.
I think he is.
Wemby was the best prospect in years, and still, like, I don't put him on Wemby's class. You guys know I've said,
but I don't put him on Paolo's class. Do you?
I think I've looked at it like I think he will at least be a star, maybe a superstar.
But
now,
the maybe a superstar, Brew, is pessimistic to where.
Yeah, compared to some people.
Yeah, that's the kind of point I'm making. You go ahead, but
look, the LeBron, because I'm stuck there, and
that's just
I do think there are similarities in terms of basketball IQ. Does everything, he shoots it better at this point than LeBron did, but I just think physically LeBron was so. And is so, imposing, and something like LeBron, arguably the greatest athlete ever to play in the NBA, like arguably. Yeah. And I don't think that's Cooper Flagg as good of an athlete as he is.
I think that's
and
a
so,
fair take.
But I do see some similarities in that he's a smart player and he'll fit in anywhere. So,
do you think he's supposed to end up better than Anthony Edwards?
the way he's profiled.
So
He's
that
supposed to.
So I guess
I think Anthony has surprised some people. Like Anthony's playing better
overachieved.
than the projection.
Oh,
was.
right, but that's not what I'm. I guess that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying him versus Anthony Edwards, the prospect.
No, I think
I'm saying Anthony Edwards, where we look at him right now, at 23 years old, been to a couple conference finals, fringes of the face of the league conversation, been a superstar the last couple years, a guy we think might one day win an MVP. If you are saying, like if we're saying, hey, all-time pyramid rankings in 30 years, who's higher, Ant or Flagg? I would say I bet Ant. It seems like the general consensus is Flagg. That's kind of what, you know what I mean?
That's so much evidence of Ant and how he's gotten better. You had a good point after the finals, Brew, about why the Thunder were going to repeat. You're like, everyone is so young, they're all going to get better. SGA is going to get better.
All of them.
So he is so young. If you view him as a high school senior, ready to play in the NBA, Dusty pulled the video of him against LeBron and Team USA. He looked like he belonged there. Granted, it's just a scrimmage and everybody's in, pennies. But still, he looked like he belonged. If he's a senior in high school, at that point he would have been a junior in high school. Again, I'm doing the math.
He was 17. He was 17 when
17, playing against the best that we had, the gold medal team, and he looked confident. He was, balling out, or at least.
There's been a lot of this scrimmage has really, made people very high on. And I get it. He did play well. I saw some of it. But it's one game. And we all remember the dream team getting beaten by a bunch of college players. Yeah. Chris Webber knows guys.
Chris Webber was good,
Bobby Hurley and stuff.
Chris Webber was good, and Chris Webber was a number one pick.
Just showing you it was, what I mean? Anything can happen.
And this is why I there's two reasons, then we move on to the other piece of this, that I am kind of, you guys joke about me being like a Wemby skeptic or whatever. One was flatly the guys who are 7'5" and above, I get worried about injury risk. Right. So there was that. But the other one was, I just felt like the comps were setting him up. Like, I'll take the under. If the comp is GOAT, I'll take the under. You know what I mean? Sure. On those things. And I feel similarly, like Chris Webber just got thrown out there. If this guy ends up having Chris Webber's career, given how he's,
it'll be a disappointment.
It would be a massive.
And that's no slight to Webber.
Correct. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
The way he's right.
There's no slight
the
to
way he's being discussed.
If
he ends up being Chris Webber, then it's like, what happened? And I feel like that's so that is typically wildly unfair. Okay. You know what I mean? And we always do that with the draft. You read these draft profiles, and there's a guy that's going to go 18th, and they're like, compares favorably to Chris Middleton. And I'm like, well, then he shouldn't go 18th in the draft. Yeah. If you're like, oh, he's going to be a multi-time All-Star and second best player and a champion, then I don't think he's the 18th pick. So it just feels
that's fair.
Like a lot.
It's going to really be interesting to see.
LeBron weighed in on Cooper Flagg, who he played in the Olympic scrimmages. In the latest episode of Mind the Game, James says, Cooper is at a distinct advantage because he's on the Mavs with AD, Kyrie, and Clay. Reaction.
Well, there's only been a handful of guys who have walked into the situation LeBron's talking about, and it's worked out pretty great for all of them. Now, it's not apples to apples, but number one pick in 1979 is Magic Johnson. The Lakers already have Kareem. They win the championship. Right, who was it? They win the championship. Then, oddly, in 1981, the number one pick of the draft was James Worthy to the Los Angeles Lakers, and they win the championship, and it works out quite well. Next year, or a couple years later, Akeem was the number one pick. Now, that wasn't a ready-made team, but it did have another Hall of Famer, a young Hall of Famer already there, in Ralph Sampson. 2 years later, they were in the finals. In the 90s, the Magic got Shaq, and then got the number one pick, Chris Webber. They traded the pick for Penny, and 2 years later, they were in the finals, and Duncan goes to the Spurs, and in year two, they're in the finals. Now, I do not think Anthony Davis at this point of his career and Kyrie coming off a knee is equivalent to, Kareem, at that point, or young Shaq in those situations. But there's not any of those instances where maybe I guess some would argue Penny didn't love it. You know what I mean? That Penny didn't get to be the show because of Shaq, but Penny's career is more about injuries than otherwise.
Yeah,
I think it's a net huge positive to go there where there's going to be playing meaningful games and they actually want to win rather than, oh, go win 15 games, we'll figure it out in the next couple years.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. And look, if he had gone to, say, Charlotte or Washington, those are losing cultures.
Correct.
And you are in that culture. And LaMelo, I like LaMelo, probably not as much as you.
Definitely
but
not as
he
much
is
as
a
well.
fantastic talent. But I think if he went to Charlotte, I don't think LaMelo's thinking he's the best player. LaMelo still thinks he's the best player on the
Like
team.
Darius Miles when
Right?
LeBron got to
Yes.
Cleveland. He's here to help us.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean, no doubt. And Ricky Davis, definitely was like thinking he was better than LeBron. He was out of there in short order, right? And so you've got guys that think they're better than you. You got guys that aren't necessarily looking to help you become a great player. And so I think in Washington would have been the same thing with Jordan Poole and those guys. I know he's gone now. But this situation, he kind of has the best of both worlds. And I alluded to it earlier.
Yes, this is
Yes, he's got talent around him in AD. And, the role players, Gafford and Clay, PJ Watt, they got some good role players around him. And if Kyrie were there, and I wish Kyrie were there. Nobody wants to see him hurt. But Rush, or I keep calling him Cooper Rush. Yeah. Flagg would have to grow he would be the third player. Right behind Kyrie and AD.
Now he's the primary
now
ball
he's
handler.
Right. He's going to handle the ball. He's the number 2 guy. And so he will, by the time Kyrie gets back, he will have developed and gotten really comfortable. And if he really comes out the gate playing well, then Kyrie may stay off the ball to a large degree and he could run things. We'll see. But I just think, look, you go to a culture where they're about winning. Like LeBron said, Jason Kidd, you got all these champions and Hall of Famers around you. And I think it's always great to go in there and play winning basketball right away. So you don't pick up bad habits. That's the thing. You go to a Charlotte or Washington, you are picking up bad habits because of the culture that they have. So I do think this is best. We've seen, look, ultimately, if he's as great as some people think he will be, it really won't matter. Because you mentioned the guys, and Magic, that was perfect for Magic because he was a passer. But LeBron lifted Cleveland to contender status. Jordan went to Chicago, turns them into a champion. We've seen other people go somewhere and turn Steph goes to Golden State, turns them into a dynasty eventually. So if you're that guy, I really don't think, football, we hear it a lot with quarterbacks. Oh, it depends on where you're. If you're that good, he's going to turn a franchise around if he's that good. In this case, he doesn't have to turn it around.
I think that part's important you're right, Jordan did it eventually. If Jordan had been drafted by, a different team, the Rockets, who had the pick, right? They take Hakeem. Maybe the first 3 years of his career, they're already contending.
Yep.
The LeBron got them as far as he could get them. But if he was, if it was somewhere, remember Memphis could have gotten the pick with Jerry West and they end up losing it. Maybe that's totally different.
Right.
Anthony Davis is top 75 guy, great player. He lifted New Orleans as high as he could. So there's some things
White
are,
with Orlando.
and hell, Shaq with Orlando.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If
you're that guy, you'll do it.
You'll do it, but
you could do it quicker.
Yeah, do it quicker is the thing. Yeah.
Denver Nuggets owner Josh Kroenke was talking about the second apron. Always a good topic. And contemplated something he never wanted to contemplate. Trading Jokic. Yikes. He said he doesn't
never say that, okay? You never say that. And in the same press conference, he did say, I'm going to offer Jokic, who's got 3 years left on his deal, but he's eligible for an extension. He's going to offer him the extension. If Jokic rejects it, then we got a story. I think this was just, I don't want to say a slip of the tongue. It was just a bad answer because there's no way he's thinking about trading Jokic.
But it wasn't really an answer. Like, the question had nothing to do with trading Jokic. He just volunteered it.
So do you think there's something to that? I think there's nothing to this whatsoever.
Well, so here,
unless it upsets Jokic.
Right. I want to also be fair because he said we're going to offer him the extension, and he said, he's like, listen, he might not accept it because it might financially make more sense for him to wait a year. Right. And so he's like, we're going to show him both things. So I don't even think it's necessarily a big warning sign if he doesn't, if he doesn't sign the extension as early because he wants more money later. I think that this is nothing when it comes to the Nuggets' plans for Jokic in the future, and massively something when it comes to the Nuggets doing damage control with Joker. Because if I'm Joker, I need to hear from them. Hold on, real quick, just so I understand. Are you saying, like, there are scenarios where I want to be here and be a Nugget forever, but you guys think because of contracts and finances, the best thing for the franchise is to trade me? Because that's not what I thought the deal here was.
Well, I never want to contemplate it.
Right. You know what I mean?
There's a scenario where I would have to.
Yeah, and so, because that, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the answer is like, we're never trading Jokic.
We're never trading Joker
no
matter what. Where he's going to have a statue here. There is like
Yeah, you wouldn't even want to say that.
Don't even bring him up.
We're not trading.
Because that would have been a story too.
Exactly.
Before you asked, we're not trading Jokic.
It's hard to do it on the fly.
Right, but which is why you just don't all of a sudden offer it up. Like, you could have just been like, which brings us to, things we never want to have to contemplate. And then he paused and he's like, if you didn't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about trading Nikola Jokic.
We would never want to have to move the franchise.
Well, word is he flew over to Serbia.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.